If you're watching yesterday, you know that John Maguire was in Weston-super-Mare. Well, today he's in Perranporth Beach in Cornwall for us this morning. John, and it looks like another glorious day there, but as we've been hearing, there is concern about what could happen to people who spend too long out there.
Yeah, you're quite right, Dan. You don't want to be a killjoy about these things, but one of the reasons behind the Met Office's amber warnings yesterday was very much driven by water safety. Ross McLeod from the RNLI is with me this morning at Perranporth Beach, and you can see, Ross, lots of people already out on the beach this morning, perhaps heeding the warnings, taking the dog for a walk early, trying to stay out of the midday sun, but it's been extraordinarily busy. So far, you think it might even be the busiest day of the year. Sorry, busiest period in your history.
Indeed. I mean, the RNLI and Her Majesty's Coast Guard, we are fully expecting it to be one of the busiest summers on record, and unfortunately media reports suggest over the last 3 or 4 days there's been a number of fatalities both inland and around the coast due to the water. So first off, thoughts and with the families of those involved. A really tragic time, but a very timely reminder as well ahead of this good weather for people to make sure we want, and quite rightly so, everyone wants to flock to the coast and have a great time. We've been locked up for a long time, but we're just asking people to think about safety, think what might happen if it goes wrong, and have a plan if it does.
So you've had this campaign running for a couple of years. I know it's been very successful. It has saved lives. It's called Float to Live. It's what to do if you accidentally fall into the water. Your colleague Steve Instance is going to do exactly that for us now. And Ross, just talk us through what he should be doing. Steve, go for it.
So Steve, unfortunately every year we know that around half the people that drown in the UK end up in the water accidentally, and the water is still really cold, particularly at this time of year. So what you'll see Steve doing now is rest and relaxing in the water, extending your arms and legs, putting your head back, a bit like a big starfish. You can see him there gently treading water, and this is the really key thing, is not to panic, not to try and fight the water, and just rest and relax. And stay calm, and you can see him there just getting control of his breathing, because cold water can cause your heart rate to spike as well as your breathing. So panic is one of the biggest killers in the water. So if you can rest in the water like this, it gives you a chance to gather your thoughts and either continue to float until help arrives, or you feel in the right position that you're able to self-rescue. So it's a perfect demonstration there. Steve's really floating. You can see the air getting trapped in a couple of the layers of his clothing will actually help you float in the first couple of minutes of falling in. And also you'll notice his trainers there. There's a bit of foam in the trainers is actually helping his feet float, and so Steve can float in that position for a good few minutes quite comfortably without compromising his breathing and his airway. And we know, as you said, this technique has saved in the region of 25 to 30 lives through people remembering what to do, and then in a real situation have actually remembered Float to Live, which is really amazing. And it's not just if you fall in accidentally, but also maybe if you get swept out by a current, something like that. It's also a really good technique because, as I said, in the water, panic is a really big problem. So if you can stay calm like this, you're on to a winner. So remember, float to live, float like a big starfish.
So Steve floating there, the idea, what, as you say, control the breathing and then make a plan, is it? Because obviously, you might be on your own. It might take a while for people to spot that someone's in an issue like this, having a problem like this.
Indeed. So for a lot of people, it's around fighting that instinct. So particularly if you fall in unexpectedly, and this is really relevant, particularly inland as well, so lakes, rivers, canals, that kind of thing, your first instinct is to fight the water, and you'll be really energised by the cold water shock, so your heart rate will spike. And so it's really around trying to fight that instinct and just calming yourself down, and that way you can think more clearly, and also you'll give your body a chance to settle down. So yeah, the main message is really to try and to stay calm. And if you are doing it, if it happens on a lifeguarded beach, hopefully people will visit one of those. If you find yourself in trouble, carry on floating and the lifeguards will come and get you. Or if you're inland, you need to be making sure, hopefully you're with someone else and they can call for backup. So 999, inland it's calling for the fire service, around the coast it's calling for the Coast Guard. And put that call in really early, and that way the emergency service can get there as quickly as possible.
We'll just let Steve come out of the water, actually. Steve, you're clear to swim out. We won't leave you in there for too much longer. We were talking to Professor Mike Tipton, who's an expert in cold water immersion, earlier on in the day. He was reminding us that more people experience problems. I think something like 2,000 people died from heat exhaustion last year, heat problems. We've also got thousands dying from drowning. A lot more of those inland than even at the coast. Why is that their disparity, do you think?
I mean, around the UK, I say every year, unfortunately, more people tend to drown in inland locations, and we've seen that over the last weekend, sort of lakes, rivers, canals, reservoirs. So it's around, we would really encourage people to go out and have fun, enjoy the open water, whether it's at the coast or inland, but just have that thought for safety and know what to do. And the hot air temperature is brilliant, but you have to remember that the water, open water, is still pretty cold, and anything sort of around 15 degrees or so is enough to trigger this cold water shock response, and it's to do with the sudden change in skin temperature. So, and it affects people that are good swimmers as well. So just because you can swim as many lengths in a warm swimming pool doesn't necessarily mean that skill transfers into open water. And also, so the best thing to do is acclimatise slowly, really, and there's no shame in wearing something like a wetsuit that gives you a bit of extra buoyancy. But it's also, if you're in the water for an extended period of time, the cold water will really sap your energy. And so just bear that in mind. Don't be too ambitious. Don't overestimate your ability or underestimate the risk. And it's all around respect for the water. We want people to have a great time, but we want them to create memories for the right reasons.
Yeah. Ross, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning, and also thanks very much to Steve for being our stunt double there, as it were. Yeah, really, really important safety messages from the RNLI this morning. As I say, they are concerned this might be their busiest season ever. Let's hope that it's not. Back to you.
I've got so many questions. Can I ask two? Can you ask two of them to me, for me, John? Because he's explained really well about that.
Yeah.
You know, you fall in and you get a fright, don't you? And it's quite something to try and control that breathing. So yeah, if you can just go over that again, that kind of gasping that you might get, and also you do get cold after you've got out as well, don't you?
Yes, exactly. Ross, Louise has just come back with a couple of extra points. I noticed that when Steve went in, he was sort of gasping because it will be cold in there and you can never quite prepare yourself for it. So it's that mind over matter sort of very initial period that's so vital.
It is, and we say about fighting your instincts, and that energising of falling into cold water. It's one of the most powerful physiological responses you can get. So it is a very mind over matter, as you say, and trying to control your thought process, trying to rest and relax, and yeah, fighting that instinct is really important. And acclimatising slowly is the key, really. So rather than jumping headfirst into the pool, obviously if you fall in, you can't control that. But it's around trying to manage the situation, and we know sort of the health benefits of swimming in open water are there as well. But we're just, as I said before, wanting to make sure people enjoy it, but enjoy it safely, create great memories this summer, and try and avoid as many tragedies as we can.
And we're seeing lots and lots of people doing things like wild swimming, river swimming, which is great. Obvious advantages for things like mental health and people exercising when they might not have done beforehand. But sometimes getting very cold, especially coming out of the water and remaining cold, is that an issue?
Yeah, I mean, for whatever your activity, I mean, our advice would be to get some training, or certainly go with people that know what they're doing. And we're likely to see a big increase in people doing things like stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, and swimming as well this summer. So try and just be prepared. And the two main things for any activity really is around communication. So make sure you've got a means of calling for help, like a mobile phone in a waterproof pouch, and appropriate buoyancy. And that's whether you can do the float to live technique like Steve in a real emergency, or you've got something like a buoyancy aid or a life jacket as well. So just think ahead about what might go wrong. Hopefully it doesn't, but it's better to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Ross McLeod, thank you very much indeed. There you go, Louise. Always great to be able to ask the experts, isn't it?
Yes, thank you very much, John, for bearing with me and answering more questions, both of you. Thank you. What a lovely day for it as well. Cheers.
Thank you for that, John, and to Ross as well. And hopefully that's given you some helpful information if you are planning on going to a beach or a canal or a lake or whatever it might be today. And what we'll do is when we get that sort of really helpful advice on BBC Breakfast, we normally will put that out on our social media. So if you want to send it to somebody else you think might not be watching or might get the opportunity to need to hear something like that, we'll put that on our social media and you can send that round as well.
Fight your instincts, float to live. Got it.